Welcome back to the 2018 Political Forum here on Cool Hits 105.7 and MyTown TV. We come down to the State Senate 18th District race between Robin Webb, the incumbent Democrat, Scott Sharp, the Republican first-time candidate for this position. Glad to have both of you here. By coin toss, Robin Webb won, and Scott won and deferred. And Robin will go first with a 2-minute opening statement.
Well, I appreciate everybody doing this. Again, it was a good event in the primary. Certainly proud to be here tonight. I am Senator Robin Webb. I represent Boyd, Carter, and Greenup County in the Kentucky General Assembly. I have served in the Senate since 2009. However, I have served Boyd County since redistricting in 2013 kind of brought me home. I was born in Ashland and grew up here. I grew up dancing at the Paramount and the Boyd County Satellite, showing my horses and playing ball for Norton Branch in the Wrestle League, and spent a lot of time in Boyd County growing up. Learned to swim at the Y. Both my children have worked there, and one worked for the city of Ashland, and I worked for Dr. John Martin as a veterinary assistant back in the day on Grandview. Went to KCTCS as my brother did. My children. I was a coal miner for Ruth Contracting, and if you hear that I did anything against the coal industry, that's not true. I was a coal miner. I was actually an underground service miner for Ruth Contracting, went to law school, came back after being a prosecutor and representing coal companies in southeast Kentucky, and went full circle and was general counsel for Addington Resources, and we were the 4th largest coal producer in the nation and had operations in 8 states. So, you know, my family has deep roots in Greenup County and Carter County, but Boyd County was always the hub of our lives, so to speak, whether it was medical care or shopping. My mother's been a realtor here for a number of years. My father represented this area in northeast Kentucky as Fish and Wildlife Commissioner through 9 governors. So I come from a family of servants, whether it was my parents being on the 5 code board back in the day or northeast. And certainly my 10 years in the House prior representing Carter and Lewis County, where I had a lot of budget experience, has brought me here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sharp, 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you. I want to thank you and Cool Hits 105 and MyTown TV and everybody out there in the audience. I appreciate you being here, and I think it's wonderful that everybody's doing their civic duty and trying to figure out who the candidates are and what they're about. Again, my name is Scott Sharp. I live in Ashland, Boyd County, and I live there with my family, my wife and 3 of my 4 children. I've got a daughter that's in college. I've got a son that's going to school here, and my daughter Caitlin, who's here in the office. And she's a special needs child, and she works at the Farmers Bank in Summit and doing an absolute excellent job, and I'm really proud of her. I'm a 7th generation Kentuckian. My family has been in Kentucky since the 1790s. I actually was not born in Kentucky. I am the first one since the 1790s that was not born in Kentucky out of my family. I was born in an Army hospital in Europe. And growing up as an Army brat, we traveled around. Some of my earliest memories I have is climbing around Vice President Humphrey's helicopter. My dad was a crew chief on his helicopter, and at that time we were at Camp Snelling, Minnesota. After I got of age, I joined the Army and I served for 22 years. I retired and I came home. While I was in the Army, I kind of specialized in a couple of different things. I've worked on mostly terrorism and drugs. On the terrorism side of the house, I did protection for General Schwarzkopf 2 years after he had retired. There was a threat against his life, and they took 50 of us. I was stationed in Hawaii at the time, and they sent us to Tampa to work. I got a book coming out about that, hopefully. At 9/11, I worked on an intelligence fusion cell, and that was pretty interesting. My drug background, though, is what's important in this race. I'm a graduate from the DEA's Drug Unit Commanders Academy, and I'm sure I'll be able to address more about that as we go along.
All right, thank you very much. We will start with questions, and we'll start with Senator Webb. You'll have 2 minutes, and then Mr. Sharp, you'll have a minute to respond, and we'll go vice versa. I want to stay on the subject because I just think it's a really important subject that the legislature has to look at, and that is the pension problem that was funded, but then the court struck down, and now the legislature's gonna have to do something. And then, you know, the public is just waiting to see what's gonna happen, because it's gonna affect a lot of people. You're there, what are your thoughts on that?
Pension problem is a little more complex than that. You know, there are separate pension plans that have different needs and specific issues. We're waiting to see what the court says about the lack of process, ill-advised manner in which that particular piece of legislation was done without any actuarial analysis or any stakeholder discussion in a secret meetings basically, and given to us to vote on when it was hot. So it's a little more complex than that. But if you look at the pension issues, and certainly we've got to, I have always, and I was looking at a video from 2012 today where I stood up on the floor and talked about our obligation and how we best do that and what we need to do. And I did that in the House, and I've done it in the Senate, and my record speaks for itself. So we've got to take each system and look at it. The teacher's retirement fund is on a self-correcting course. There has been things done through the past few years in this General Assembly that have self-corrected that. There was no need to front load that. All you gotta do is fund the art. So I'm for funding the art in the respective pensions, and some of them need infusions of cash and other modifications that need to be vetted. They need to be vetted with stakeholders. And you know, like this ad they're running against me, like I caused the pension problem. No, don't believe that either, folks. Do your research. My endorsements are people that know better, they're people that are affected, and they support me.
Mr. Sharp, you have a minute to respond to that question about the pension problem.
Well, the pension problem is it hasn't been serviced as far as funding for decades, and it needs to be addressed, regardless of whether or not, you know, I don't think Senator Webb is personally responsible for it, but I think everybody up in Frankfurt, and I'm sure there are some Republicans as well as Democrats that have their fingerprints on it. It needs to be funded, because we're talking about people. These are people's lives that they've planned on. And they've taken the money that is supposed to be directed into these different funds, and they've spent it elsewhere. And I really have a problem with that. We're not thinking about people, and that issue needs to come to fruition. I mean, we need to get people and take care of them. As far as the secret meeting that Senator Webb was talking about, Representative Bentley, I think, mentioned about it. This is what, the way they did this has been going on since 1955. Is that correct, Danny? Yep. So, you know, I don't know how else to address that.
All right, let's move to the next question, and then we'll start with you. Mr. Sharp, you'll have 2 minutes, and then Senator Webb will have a minute to respond to it. Let's talk about the opioid problem that we've been talking about, because it is a serious problem, a terrible plague, not just in Kentucky, but all across the country. What can the state of Kentucky do, though, to combat that?
Well, we have to look at what's going on. I was a drug task force commander, and after I was successfully completed that job, they asked me to go down to the school and teach. Part of that job was we were tasked out through Joint Task Force 6 to the Justice Department under Operation Alliance. And the DEA had us travel around the nation teaching undercover drug operations to police officers to how they can target dealers. And it was focused on dealers and getting the dealers off the street. I say all that because what it comes down to is I traveled around and I looked at how different agencies across the nation are doing business. It seems like everybody's got their own little fiefdom, but we're the ones that were successful was they had state and federal involvement that focused everything. You know, you get a lot of people that they don't want to play. It's my backyard, it's my ball, leave me alone. Well, that doesn't work in this environment. And again, we're back to talking about people. People's lives are what we're worried about here. You know, we've got to have enforcement, like Brian was talking about. We've got to have rehab, we have to have counseling, and we're going to have confinement. We've got to have all those pillars to really tackle this, and it's got to be addressed at the state and federal level. I just don't see that focus down at the local level.
Senator Webb?
Well, back in the early 2000s, I sponsored the OxyContin legislation because as a small town practitioner, I practiced law for 30 plus years at small town USA, Southeast Kentucky and here at home. I deal with it every day, one addict at a time, one crime at a time. And I brought the OxyContin bill. I worked with Congressman Rogers. I worked with Southern Ohio delegation, the mayor of Huntington, and others through the years to try to identify pipelines and deterrence and all those issues. I've served on several state task forces on the national level. You know, we've upgraded our Casper problem for real-time online. We need a multi-state, no-line jurisdictional, because these are units of commerce when you're dealing with the pill problem. But when you're dealing with methamphetamine and importation from countries that don't like us and want to hurt us, you know, and you play whack-a-mole with the chemical compositions, those are the things we look at.
This question will go to Senator Webb, and then Mr. Sharp will have a minute to respond. If you were reelected, what do you feel is your number one priority to help the people of this district?
Well, certainly, like I worked the floor to get the incentive for Brady. I left the Senate and went to the House at the 11th hour and called on my former colleagues to do that. I think we've got to be ready. We've got to have the proper infrastructure. Our regional delegation put KCTCS on the industrial park. We were the first in the nation to do that. We're now a national model. And rightly so, because it's come to fruition. The curriculum can be tailored to attract the industries that others have spoken about here. I want to continue that course. Our river port, I was at a meeting the other day about the importance of river ports and how we expand and the value that Ohio River and how the projections that will impact our area, and certainly diversified energy in an environmentally friendly manner with electric rates and all of those things that impact our most vulnerable citizens. And looking at our comprehensive tax code, that will help with the pension issue, that will help with all these issues. It will help with the opioid issue if we can attract and retain and offer hope and support our public education system, where there's no greater equalizer than public education and the parity that it brings. And the court ruled on in Kentucky so many years ago to carry that mantle forward and make sure every one of our children have the opportunity and don't have to pay to go to a charter school and don't have a non-qualified teacher, and that the teachers and our law enforcement and our firefighters have stable economic stability and retirement that they deserve. And that's the way, you know, we've got to take care of our people. I've tried to do that. I'm East Kentucky. My family came in with the Boones and you want to play, you know, chess with this. But I am East Kentucky. That's where my family lives. That's where I want to live. And this is who I am. So I want to continue the course for my people.
Mr. Sharp, your top priority for the people of this district if you were elected?
Well, I think if you really look at it, the top priority is the people. We have to provide opportunity for the people of the district. You know, we've been losing jobs since the 1980s. We've had major industry move out of here and scale back continually since the 1980s. The pension crisis has been going on, and we're all going to end up having to pay more taxes because of that. We bought that pension once. We now have to buy it a second time, and the people in Frankfurt, you know, have caused this mess that has to be straightened out. Drugs is another issue. The opium crisis is just absolutely horrendous. We've got to start teaching our children the character of just say no. I mean, that was something that was big back in the 1980s. We need to give them the tools to say no again. We need to get them at that level. The other issues that are going on with the drugs, again, we got to target it. We've got to get state involvement.
Final question, and we'll start with Mr. Sharp, and then Senator Webb will have a minute to respond. Probably one of the things that we haven't talked about at all tonight, but it is a huge problem in this country, in the state, even sometimes at the local level, is the political division that we see. It seems like we are as divided as we have ever been in this country. That seems to trickle down even to state politics. how do you propose to work across the aisle with people of other parties to get things done? Because it's gonna have to happen sooner or later.
Well, I think first off, we have to identify problems and logically address them. We have to take the emotion out of it, and we have to look at the core problem and address the core problem on a logical level. When you start infusing emotion, that's where you start getting people that are, like we saw with Senator McConnell, where people are basically ambushing him in a restaurant. I think that is completely uncalled for. If we don't start coming together, we're gonna have some major issues. There's gonna be, I've heard today, somebody's forecasting a death at some point in time over this whole thing between, and we almost had it with Representative Scalise in DC. And this is happening here in Kentucky too. We've got all these protests going on, people getting into people's faces. I mean, it's just, there's gonna be an issue at some point in time, and it has to be addressed. People gotta start taking emotion out of it, looking at the core problem, and addressing the core problem. Now, in the military, leadership is big, and they really push professional leadership. And professional leadership in the military is not barking orders to make somebody do something. That's only in very rare combat situations. As a leader in the military, you have to talk to people and get everybody moving in the same direction, basically in the same boat, moving in the same direction for the same goal. And that's what we need to do in Frankfurt. You know, the adage, united we stand, divided we fall, is a very true adage.
Senator Webb, working across the aisle, getting rid of this division, how do we do it?
Never had a problem with it. My faith requires that. I think in my love of government and my love of the law, and I'm an institutionalist, I'm not a party loyalist. And my voting record dictates that. I grew up in a split household where my mom and dad watched debates on different floors because my dad was a Republican, mom was a Democrat. I was a Republican once, I'm a Democrat. Hey, I represent my people. I represented the Republican district in the House for 10 years. I'm NRA A+, pro-life Southern Baptist, and you know, it's not a problem with me. Every bill I have in the House, as representative, be a former representative, now Judge Vincent, he was on a lot of my bills. Scott Brinkman, who's in the governor's cabinet, was on a lot of my bills. I've worked across the aisle. I've been the only Democratic conference committee tables on the budget because of my expertise on the budget, being second ranking member in the House all those years. So I have no problem with it. I pass bills. I'm effective on the budget process. I have committee chairman ask me for advice. Other members want me to stand with them. No problem.
That'll do it for the questions, and now we'll give each of you 2 minutes for a closing statement. We'll start with Mr. Sharp.
Thank you. And I appreciate you guys again giving this opportunity for us to sit out here and show a contrasting between both myself and Senator Webb. I also have the highest ranking from the NRA. I have, as a candidate, I do. I've been endorsed twice by the Kentucky Right to Life, and a lot of this is, why am I running? Well, my family has always had community service. It's always been pushed on me since I was a child. The military even said we've got, community service to our communities. We've got to do something about that. It's basically a family tradition. From the Revolutionary War to the Civil War, right on up. All my family has been in the military in some function or another. I joined the Army when I was 18 years old at the height of the Cold War, and I've spent many a cold night sitting in Fulda Gap. And for those of you who know where that's at, in Germany, on the east-west German border. I see a need for change in Frankfurt. I do. You've got to sit back and look and take an inventory of what we need in Frankfurt. And right now, in this point in time in history, what we need in Frankfurt is we need a strong voice that's going to go in there, that's got a background in tackling the drug problems, that's people-orientated, and is going to hit it hard. It's got to be people over party, and it cannot be any self-interest in that, even if it's to one's own detriment. And that's something that the military also, hey, you got to make the right decision, even if it's against your self-interest. If you sit back and you look at Senator Webb, she's a defense attorney. She plays a very important part in our judicial system. There's nothing the matter with that. That's how she makes her living. But now when you go to vote in November, who do you need in Frankfurt? Do you need somebody who worked against drugs, or do you need somebody who defends the dealers of addiction and death?
Thank you very much. Senator Webb, 2 minutes for a closing statement.
I appreciate Scott's service, and that's probably the one thing I've always wanted to do and couldn't, and that, my heart murmur kept me out of the Army, and I appreciate the service of our brothers and sisters, and certainly made it my calling to try to help them in any way I can in my calling as your state senator. My daughter's here tonight. She's a Navy wife. Her husband's serving now. Our family also has a rich history of military service. My uncle didn't make it back in World War II. He's on the wall down in Greenwood County. But, so I appreciate that. But there's a lot more to it than this, folks. I am a strong voice. I ask you to look on my YouTube videos, see who stands up for our region, for our teachers, for our firefighters. I have the endorsement of the men and women affected by this pension issue. They have people there all the time. They've had them there for years. So I have the endorsement of KEA. I have the endorsement of, I'm recommended by the Kentucky Fraternal Order of Police. I have the Kentucky firefighters. I have the unanimous Ashland firefighters. That means the world to me. Those are the pensioners that I fight for and will continue to fight for, along with our public education, because it's more than just funding the pension, folks. There is an agenda at foot here. I've talked about it. Get on my sites and look at it. It lays out how this unfolded. Since 1999, I'm not being partisan, but that's when pensions stopped being funded. And that's when everybody signed the no tax pledge. And that's how this dismantling of our public pensions is happening not only in Kentucky, but across the United States. Everything that I said is coming to fruition, whether it's charter schools, lessening standards for teachers, and all of these things in undermining our pensions. So do we have to front load fund them? No. At the expense of everything else, so teachers are demonized? No. I'm going to continue that fight.
I want to thank Senator Robin Webb, Democratic candidate, Scott Sharp, the Republican candidate for the 18th District State Senate race. Thank you very much.